with our citizens that have lost loved ones, comfort them, and be with those that are sick. And we ask you to be with the first responders and our military all over the world. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call tonight, please show all present with Robert Taylor. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 5th, 2017.
So moved.
Motion from Carolyn Norman, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Terry Glover. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? New business. First item on new business, attorney invoice that was attached in your packet. The amount of the attorney invoice for last month was $6,093.75. I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
Move.
Motion from Mike Morgan, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bob Kirk. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. I got a question, Mayor, about do we see the light at the end of the tunnel on this, pension plan? There's about 3 pages. How's that going? Is it progressing, or I know some depositions being taken? Is
Yes, sir, there are going to be some
that
depositions.
final thing, you think?
Yes, sir, there are going to be some depositions taken this week. Hang on. And in October, there are 2 motions before Judge Lee Moore. There's a hearing on the motion to dismiss and a hearing for a motion on judgment on the pleadings. That's going to be Monday, October 2nd. Found this out today. Put it on my calendar. I'll inform, send an email to the board. But there are 2 motions in front of Judge Lee Moore scheduled for Monday, October 2nd at 9 a.m. in his courtroom. The first is a hearing on the motion to dismiss and the motion for judgment on the pleadings. So there'll be some depositions taken this week, and then that court date is Monday, October 2nd.
Does that motion to dismiss conclude the suit if it's granted?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, bids. Greg?
First item I have is for the water sewer department. It's a mini excavator with a mower head and bucket. Be used for line maintenance and clearing around manholes. There was $50,000 included in this year's budget. Notification was given through the State Gazette and direct to 5 vendors. I had 1 no response, 2 no bid, and 2 others submitted 3 different bids ranging from $62,200 to $48,900. And all of these bids included the trade-in of the 2007 Cat 416E backhoe that they have. So I recommend awarding the bid to First Choice Farm and Lawn of Dyersburg for $48,900.
Is that in the budget with the trade-in?
It is. It's $50,000 included in the budget.
Yeah, okay. So move.
Second.
Motion from Bob Kirk, second from Terry Glover. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
The last item I have is for the communication. It is a computer system refresh that is performed every 4 years. This was included in the repair and maintenance budget, but we also learned that this is 100% reimbursable by E911. That was not on your notes. It is a proprietary system upgrade for $24,952.30. So I recommend awarding the bid to Integrated Communications of Memphis.
You've heard the recommendation. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion from Carolyn Norman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mike Morgan. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Greg. Next item on the agenda, report from Alderman. Bob Kirk.
Yes, Mayor. I asked Chief Isbell a week or so ago if he could comment on some of the reporting that's been done on our burglaries and other offenses that have taken place in our city. And I see he's presenting us with a summary. And if we could call on him now to give us an update, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recently, an article was published in the State Gazette in reference to burglary rate here in Dyersburg. Also, and this was prompted from a news report from Memphis Media, where they ran the story first. So I appreciate the State Gazette reaching out, give us an opportunity to talk about this. Even though all the information I sent in was not in the report with the State Gazette, I provided you with the email that was sent to them with details, and I would like to take a few moments tonight and go over this email and go over the data and answer any questions that you might have. So the first part of your packet is the email. There's also a lot in here regarding the FBI, the use of this data that we'll talk about briefly, followed by the August 2017 charge list of cases that were presented to the Dyer County Grand Jury, and then followed by the actual definition of burglary, not in regards to how we charge individuals, but how we report that information. And I will not take the time to go over that. That's for you to read and take your time, but you can see it takes 2 complete pages just to explain burglaries and our reporting process for the state to be used. So we'll start with the email. Go down about halfway. There's some stuff here. In 2015, I'm referencing 2015 because that is where this report came from. That was first in the Memphis News. So they're referencing 2015. But in 2015, there are an estimated 1,579,527 burglaries across the U.S. The estimated number of burglaries accounted for 19.8% of the estimated number of property crimes. By subcategory, 57.9% of the burglaries involved forcible entry, 35.5% were unlawful entries, and 6.6% were attempted forcible entry. Victims of burglary offenses suffered an estimated $3.6 billion in property losses in 2015. The average dollar loss per burglary was $2,316. Burglaries of residential properties accounted for 71.6% of all burglary offenses. Below you'll see, I'm going to reference UCR, and that stands for Uniform Crime Report, and this is what the FBI, their data, and so when you hear me say UCR, that's what I'm referring to. But this language that I'm about to read, and we're going to kind of dissect some of this, is FBI's wording. This is not Steve Isbell or the Dyersburg Police Department. This is from the FBI and their caution to those that use this data. And we'll start with pitfalls of ranking. UCR data are sometimes used to compile rankings of individual jurisdictions and institutions of higher learning. These incomplete analyses have often created misleading perceptions which adversely affect geographic entities and their residents. For this reason, the FBI has a long-standing policy against ranking participating law enforcement agencies on the basis of crime data alone. Despite repeated warnings against these practices, some data users continue to challenge and misunderstand this position. Data users should not rank locales because there are many factors that cause the nature and type of crime to vary from place to place. UCR statistics include only jurisdictional population figures, along with reported crime, clearance, or arrest data. Rankings ignore the uniqueness of each locale. Some factors that are known to affect the volume and type of crime occurring from place to place are population density and degree of urbanization, variations in composition of the population, particularly youth concentration, stability of the population with respect to residents, mobility, commuting patterns, and transient factors, economic conditions including medium income, poverty level, and job availability, modes of transportation, and highway systems. To speak briefly on that, in Dyersburg we're very, very fortunate, as you all know, to recruit industry because of our location. We nearly touch 4 states. We're within almost a stone's throw of 4 states. We have 3 major corridors running through our city. But with this also comes, it's a massive driver and enormous flow of people. With that also comes some of the transient things that we just talked about, and also the flow of narcotics along our interstate and highway systems. Cultural factors and educational, recreational, and religious characteristics. Family conditions with respect to divorce and family cohesiveness. Now, many might overlook that, but if you'll recall, I have come before you before to talk about violent crime rate, how it's tied in with our domestic violence cases. And in 2015, regarding domestic violence cases, 524 of our assaults, aggravated assaults, things of that nature were domestic related. So 524 cases were domestic related. We know that nearly half of our aggravated assaults are domestic related, and more than half of our regular assaults are domestic related. So we know that's an issue, and that's why the FBI acknowledges this and recognizes this in their synopsis here. And speaking of domestic, and we'll be making an announcement here in the very near future regarding a program that we're going to enter into to help address the domestic violence situation and partnering with some others. Really excited about this. We've had some meetings. We're going to implement some additional training and another resource for our officers to use in dealing with the domestic violence situation. Effective strength of law enforcement agencies, administrative and investigative emphasis on law enforcement, policies of other components of the criminal justice system, for example, prosecution, judicial, correctional, probation, citizens' attitudes toward crime, crime-reported practices of the citizenry. We're very fortunate here that we have a very robust way in that we report crime. Our community trusts the Dyersburg Police Department. They report to us their crime, but with that comes our numbers. There are places all throughout the United States and in Tennessee where the citizens do not report crime to law enforcement for various reasons. But we are very fortunate here in that we have a great relationship with our community. Ranking agencies based solely on UCR data has serious implications. For example, if a user wants to measure the effectiveness of a law enforcement agency, these measurements are not available. As a substitute, a user might list UCR clearance rates, rank them by agency, and attempt to infer the effectiveness of individual law enforcement agencies. This inference is flawed because all the other measures of police effectiveness were ignored. The nature of the offenses that were cleared must be considered, as those cleared may not have been the most serious, like murder or rape. The agency's clearances may or may not result in conviction, the ultimate goal. The agency may make many arrests for Part 2 offenses like drug abuse violations, which demonstrate police activity but are not considered in the clearance rate. Again, in 2015, our Part 2 offenses, or what's classified as Group A offenses with the TBI in our reporting, there were 3,154 cases investigated that year. You've also heard me report to you recently that just last year, we entered 27,000 calls for service. We averaged 28,000 calls for service a year, and also that year we had over 2,500 arrests. Very active department, very proactive, and very aggressive. The agency's available resources are also critical to successful operation, so its rate of officers to population and budget should be considered. The UCR clearance rate was simply not designed to provide a complete assessment of law enforcement effectiveness. In order to obtain a valid picture of an agency's effectiveness, data users must consider an agency's emphasis and resources and its crime, clearance, and arrest rates, along with other appropriate factors. Because of concern regarding the proper use of UCR data, the FBI has the following policies. The FBI does not analyze, interpret, or publish crime statistics based solely on a single dimension interagency ranking. The FBI does not provide agency-based crime to data users in a ranked format. When providing Using agency-oriented statistics, the FBI cautions and in fact strongly discourage data users against using rankings to evaluate locales or the effectiveness of their law enforcement agencies. And all of this, and below there is the link where you can get this information if you would like to take a further look at that. Below that, there's some information about the UCR, but I've highlighted something again. The FBI does not collect the data itself. Rather, law enforcement agencies across the United States provide the data to the FBI, which then compiles the reports, which leaves room for error. I've said this before to you. We report accurately. We're not going to hide anything. You deserve, and the citizens that we serve deserve to know the facts of what is going on in this city in regards to crime, and we're not going to hide anything. We're not going to cover up anything. Sometimes it's not pleasant, but I don't want to minimize it by saying it is what it is, but this is what we're dealing with. And the picture that we paint for you is an accurate picture here in the city. And I'll also point out nationally reporting is not mandated. Tennessee is one of several or many states that do report to the FBI, but not all states are required to do this, and that's a flaw in the system itself. Down below, you'll see actually the comment that was in the newspaper word for word, but I'll also point out on the back page there, again, that we submitted 94 cases for the August term of the Dyer County Grand Jury. 27 of those cases submitted ranged from aggravated robbery to possession of burglary tools and theft. 7 were charged with aggravated robbery, and 16 were charged with aggravated burglary or burglary. And again, the following pages are just a breakdown of the individuals that were charged and all of their charges. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, Chief, you shared something with me the other day when we were talking about this on the telephone about the solve rates. And I think you used a number that's comparable to several departments that you noted, for my information, 30-something% on, since the focus is on robberies, primarily that's what brought all this to our attention, I guess. Like a 37 or 38%
Yes, sir.
solve rate, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And over the years, that has been our average in the mid to upper 30% on solving these cases. Also statewide, 38% is the statewide average on clearance of these cases. With that also comes, again, you see a 2-page definition of burglary.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are many cases that we can close out that if it doesn't meet the criteria of the Tybers reporting and UCR, we cannot close that out as a cleared case. So not making excuses, that's the average, that's where we're running. Wish it was higher, but there are a number of factors that play into that.
Well, again, the focus of this attention has come from somewhere, I don't know where, but you know, we had a similar situation a few months ago. The spotlight was shining again on the reporting and how certain offenses were reported and that sort of thing. But we also need to keep in mind that a number of these things are brought up by a company that's trying to sell burglar alarms. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your report.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Chief, I'd just like to know, just out of curiosity, the people you arrest for these, how many times are they regular customers of yours on other offenses? I mean,
We do see repeat offenders. And with that said, the judicial system and the way it's set up, I know that in this court, Judge Dedman does a very good job with the cases that we bring in here, cases that we present to the grand jury. But as you well know, there are many plea deals that are often made. simply cannot put everybody in jail. While we understand that, it's also frustrating to deal with some of the same repeat offenders, but often the judges, judicial system has their hands tied too with sentencing guidelines and things of that nature, which Judge Dedman or even General Bivens, I'm sure, would be glad to explain that in more detail, far better than I. But I will say that we have an excellent working relationship with our courts and with our District Attorney General's office. That when you look at the magnitude and the cases just that 94 cases in the August term of the grand jury, that's a lot of cases. And you look at over 2,600 arrests just from the Dyersburg Police Department in a year's time. It's a lot of individuals coming through the system. But we do see repeat offenders.
What about manpower numbers? Are you down, or where are you on your manpower numbers right now?
I'm pleased to let you know that we are in better shape now than we have been in a long, long time. I currently have 1 vacancy. We have three officers in training. They are all certified officers that we hired from other agencies. They're doing well in the program. We have 1 young man that will be graduating from the police academy the last Friday in another week or so, he'll be graduating. He's nearly finished our training program. He'll come back orientation for a few more weeks. And with that said, I have 1 individual out on medical leave that is nearing his completion and should be back on the streets. But I have 1 vacancy as of today.
Can you make one other statement for me and this board about your turnover? I know, we weren't able to increase the level of pay this year like we had wanted to. You find that as a pretty primary issue of your turnover, or are they looking for something else? They want to get out of law enforcement, or can you address that just briefly?
Sure, it's a combination of all of those. Obviously, good pay to be competitive with other agencies, not just in our general area, but for several states. I mean, recruiting is a big deal for law enforcement now, and the days of testing applicants, going through the program, and having 30+ individuals that are gathered in this room taking a test doesn't happen. We just went through testing, and I believe, and my apologies, I do not have the exact numbers, started out with maybe 30 of those interested. 7 failed the physical fitness first thing that morning. The rest moves forward to the testing part. We do not have the test results back yet. We will lose a number of those individuals that could not complete the testing if it holds true to past times. But we should have some good quality candidates there. But yes, sir, obviously pay is very important.
Are you losing some to other departments for that reason that you can pinpoint pay?
Last year, I lost a couple to other agency for pay. But this year, so far, starting with January the 1st, we've lost 3 officers. The 4th could not complete the training program and had to dismiss that individual. But 3, well, actually 4 left. 1 came back within a few weeks.
Go to other departments?
No, he got out of law enforcement.
Oh, I see.
Went into another profession. Moved back home, another state where his family is, and decided he needed to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Thank you.
welcoming him back. Yes, sir.
Did you say you had 2 officers, a young man that's off now, that you got from other agencies?
3.
3?
Yes, sir.
That came from other agencies?
Yes, sir. And with that said, thank you for bringing that back up. These officers, we have a very aggressive recruitment plan when it comes to certified officers. The board many years ago approved the plan to where if we hire a certified officer from another agency, say with 10 years' experience, we can start that officer here at what a 10-year officer would make, as if he had been here for 10 years. Now, he or she does not come with that seniority, but they come here with that pay, and that has been a huge, huge benefit to us to attract certified officers that are looking to move.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. We appreciate the update. Thank you very much.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Billy?
I believe in giving praise when praise is due, and I want to commend Chief Isbell and all the men and women of his department, because I think you do a great job, and I think it's a thankless job, but I want to commend you on the job well done. I also want to commend Mike McCullough, excuse me, on a job well done. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Glover?
No report.
Kevin?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mike?
I do have, I had a couple that talked to me yesterday or this morning about a problem at the corner of Reynolds and East Court, about seeing when they come out for Reynolds on East Court. And then I went and looked at it, and it was bad. And I did call Mike McCullough this morning, and this evening I checked it, and I'm gonna tell you, it's really 100% better. There shouldn't be any complaints. It looks really good, and I appreciate the street department for doing that. That's all.
Thank you. Dennis?
I don't have anything.
Carolyn?
No report.
Okay, only thing I have is I passed out a copy of the TDEC consent agreement and assessment information that Scott and Tiffany have been talking to us about. Probably have a water sewer committee meeting maybe Wednesday if possible. We'll get together and see if we can, or possibly Thursday to go over this and discuss this from TDEC. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.